Pesachim Daf Yutes. Today's email comes from David Lemmer from Lakewood, New Jersey. He says, I'm a Magid Shir of the Daf Yomi, and when there's a Gemara I don't fully understand, or when I only have a short time to prep after a long day at work, it's your Shir I turn on. Regards to my friend Shmuley Elawad, Fred Chanukah. He goes on to decipher a riddle I asked and to say pshat in learning. He says, that's it for today. Thank you and hope to see you one day. David Lemmer, Lakewood, New Jersey. Thank you, Reb Duvi. The third sheet that we had, where there's machlokes, what happens if a sheretz touches mashkim liquids? According to all three, the liquids become tamei midaraisa. The question is, what happens from that point on? Rabbi Yossi in the final sheet that says that the liquids have the ability to be mitama food, but don't have the ability to be mitama a kli. And the Gemara says Rabbi Yossi doesn't really hold this. He's saying over from his Rebbe, Rebbe Akiva, but he's mechulik on his Rebbe, his Rebbe's mechulik on him. His Rebbe, Rebbe Akiva, holds that you take the word yitma and you darshan it yitamei. And therefore he says a tremendous chiddush Rebbe Akiva, that in chulin there's actually a concept of shlishi. Chulin becomes tummy from a shlishi. Now if Rebbe Akiva would learn Rebbe Yossi's following Kal V'chomer, he would step it up and say there's even a revi by Truma and a chamishi and kachim. What's the Kal V'chomer? A mechusar kippurim, somebody who is tamei, went to the mikvah but still has to wait until he can bring a karban. He's permitted to eat truma, but he's not permitted to eat kachim. If he touches kachim, he becomes pasul. So certainly a shlishi that, according to Rebbe Akiva, makes truma pasul, certainly it should make a revi. Now, if Rebbe Akiva agrees to this Kal V'chomer, he would learn that there's a revi in truma and a chamishi in kachim. Why? A tful yoim, someone who's tamei went to the mikvah and is waiting for herav shemesh for nightfall. The halacha is he's permitted in chulin but asr in truma. So a shlishi, according to Rebbe Akiva, which makes chulin pasul, certainly should make a revi in truma. And if in fact it makes a revi in truma, then you can step up the Kal V'chomer and say, if a mechusar kippurim, which is mutter in truma, is asr in kachim, certainly a revi should make a chamishi. Now, if Rebbe Akiva in fact held this Kal V'chomer, there would be a shita that says there's a revi in truma and a chamishi in kachim, and we never found such a shita. So it must be that Rebbe Akiva doesn't hold that. Rav Ashi found a brayso that says mefurish. Rebbe Akiva holds there's a shlishi in truma and a revi in kachim, because the brayso says that if there's a kli trough that has a lot of food in it, different foods, and somebody that's tummy touches one part, everything in the trough becomes tummy. Why? Because there's a concept called tziruf. You combine everything, even though you didn't touch it. What do you touch? Touch something else that touched something else. That's like 100th, not even a shlishi. Nevertheless, everything becomes tummy. Rebbe Akiva adds, and he says, even things that are not edible, such as coals and levina that you put on the minchas. If you touch this coal over here, which touches another one, touches the other, they all become tummy. So since this part is Rebbe Akiva, so the following statement that a shlishi is by truma and a revi by kachim must be Rebbe Akiva as well. Now, as a side note, the Gemara says, since Rebbe Akiva uses the concept of tziruf, combining everything in the kli, even when it comes to things that are not edible, obviously this whole concept is the Rabbanan concept, whereas Rebbe Chanan holds that tziruf is the doiraisa from the pasuk that we say every day during Chanukah, kaf achas asor zav meleik tyrus. Everything on the spoon is considered achas, it's one. So it's a concept mid-doiraisa. If one finds a needle that was touched by someone who touched a mace, it's tmei mace. In other words, the needle is a rishon. So the meat becomes a sheni, is tamei. Yet the kayin that opens up the meat in the Beis Hamikdash, and the knife that he uses to cut open, and his hands are all tar. Why? Because suffix whether it touched the needle or not, and we're in the azara. The azara is considered Rosh Hashanah. Suffix tumah Rosh Hashanah tar. Now let's say this suffix happened in Rosh Hashanah. So he would be tamei, the knife would be tamei. Why? Because it's considered, even though we're dealing with a needle, and in order to, when you have a suffix, you need that the thing, the object should have das l'shal, like a saita. You could ask her, are you tamei, not tamei? You can't talk to a needle. Because we're dealing with a human being here that dealt with the needle, so it's considered geshli das l'shal. Unless you find something in a corner that a human being had nothing to do with it. Let's say you find the dead sheretz next to a kli, that's a case of ein boy das l'shal. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Oven says that we're dealing with a needle that is a suffix, not 100% if that was tamei, and it came from outside of Yerushalayim, and the mouth of the animal was muzzled, so therefore it can't be that it came from Yerushalayim. So the suffix generated in outside of Yerushalayim, and that's why it's a Safek Kli from outside Yerushalayim, but inside Yerushalayim, Safek Kli is tar. Now, why is the knife tar? Because we have a concept that a Kli and food cannot become Tameh unless they receive the Tumah from an Avatuma. And this needle is not an Avatuma. Hands, Yodayim, Chachamim, Rabbanim weren't geyser Tumah on hands in the Beis Hamikdash. And Rabbi Kiva says it's a great thing that there's no Tumas Yadayim in the Beis Hamikdash, because otherwise we would have so many puzzle karbanas in the Beis Hamikdash. If you see spit on the floor in Yerushalayim, you could assume that it's tar. Besides, in one place, in the Shuk HaElyon, that's where the Zavim would hang out. We're concerned, perhaps it's the spit of a Zav, and the spit of the Zav has the same Tumah as the Zav himself, it's Avat Tumah, not in Yerushalayim. Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Yossi added, even if you see the Zav walk right in front of you, and later on you find spit, we still don't assume it's from the Zav. There's halacha. If you find a Kli going down into the mikvah, you can assume that the Kli is Tameh. But in the rest of Yerushalayim, that Kli would be tar. If it's coming up from the mikvah, you could assume that somebody toiveled it, and it's on its way up. As you see in the picture, they used to have a way down into the mikvah, a staircase going down, and a staircase coming up. However, in the pathways leading to the mikvah, there's no up and down. Since this Kli, who would bring a Kli on such a path? Obviously the Kli was Tameh. Now, perhaps it went into the mikvah and came out of the mikvah, but we don't know that. You have to prove that. This Kli has a chazaka that it's Tameh. So until you can prove that it was toiveled, this Kli is going to be Tameh. And finally, if you find a needle in the intestines, in the waist of the animal, the meat is completely tar. Have a wonderful day and a Freilichen Chanukah.